Yeah, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whenever you listen to this. This is Matthew Bailey, alongside Ricardo Medina, the one and only.
Hello, hello, hello.
And this is our very first 2016 episode of Bears, Beats, and Bailey. We're recording inside the food court over by the GFK Auditorium in UE.
Yeah.
It's surprisingly quiet right now. It's actually dead, with the exception of this stupid machine here that keep playing this music commercial. But if you hear it in the background, just ignore it for the time being.
Yeah.
So what we're going to be talking about today for our first episode, Ricardo?
Yeah, so for the year we will decide. I wanted to just do a kind of recap of trends for the year.
Recap.
Yeah, a recap.
Yeah.
Recap, yeah. No, yeah. So for the year, there's the general trends and what we think might be the issues for 2016. So 2015 was kind of a slowdown for the comic book stuff.
Yeah, I didn't hear that much new things in terms of comic books.
In the big movies, it kind of slowed down for the year because Age of Ultron, as I say, I think Age of Ultron is a bit of a letdown.
That's what you're referring to, comic book movies or just comic books in general?
No, comic book movies.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant
in terms of the film industry. Because the thing is, the comic book, a lot of people look at it as like a wave, but it's more like a rising tide that here to stay. I can't see it ever slowing down. It's not a bubble. It's bigger than that because you could do so much with the material. Yeah. And it kind of already covers the sci-fi genre very well.
True.
So that it kind of takes that launch. Very few sci-fis could do something on its own, unless it's going to be very adult and not catering to a younger audience like say Marvel and Disney will do.
Right.
So that.
And they're like books that could that more or less follow that trend that could possibly be film in the future.
Yeah. So stuff like the YA novels also kind of cover these general sci-fi premises as well.
Yeah. I guess Maze Runner is a good example.
Right. All the
Divergent.
All the YA stuff does that. And then this year we.
Well, sorry, last year.
No, this year.
This year, okay.
Yeah, this year we now see the rebuilding of that now. We're starting to see bigger movies there. Hopefully they'll be good. So we have 6 big comic book movies coming out this year. This will be...
Can we call them off the top of our heads?
Yes, right, I could do that. We have Deadpool coming first.
Yeah, Deadpool is coming out... it's coming
February.
out February. I think it's the Friday before Valentine's Day, which is falling on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So I may actually go and check that out on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
No 50 Shades of bullshit to worry about. So definitely Deadpool.
We have Deadpool. We have Captain America, Civil War.
Yeah.
We have Doctor Strange.
Yeah, that's in November. Yeah. Right.
No, Doctor Strange all that?
I believe so. It's either October or November. It's later in the year.
Doctor Strange. We have
Batman v Superman, of course.
Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. We have
Suicide Squad, which is in August.
Yeah, we're expecting that. And then, last but not least, we have X-Men. It might be least. X-Men: Age of Apocalypse. That is the...
No. You're saying Age of Apocalypse. It's just X-Men Apocalypse.
Just call Apocalypse, not Age of Apocalypse.
Yes.
Or just call Apocalypse. Okay.
Apocalypse, yeah.
Whatever. They're using the Age of Apocalypse arc.
Okay, well, of course, right.
Yeah. And that is it. So it's just big competition that launch. Now, speaking of that, we just have...
Just before you get to that, this is just my little speculation. I'm not like a just praying for this to happen, but I think this could be DC's year.
Right.
Well, I mean, of course, it's 2 against 4, but still at the end of the day, they have Suicide Squad and they have Batman v Superman. If those shows are big hits, then...
It's really a triple threat match between 3 studios, not 2. Even though it's Marvel properties versus DC properties. But it's really 3 studios. It's the Marvel Studio, Fox, and DC.
Right.
And WB, you should say. Warner Brothers has been doing a splendid job in almost everything else but live actions.
Yeah, we mentioned that before. They've done with the animated films, with the TV shows.
Animated films, Pong for Pong is quite good. The TV shows, I think Pong for Pong quite good. I've been really enjoying Supergirl and Flash.
Same here.
Yeah,
Arrow. I need to get into that.
No, that's the thing with me and Arrow. Arrow is a series that I just don't hate the Arrow character, but Arrow is pretty good. I can't knock Arrow or say it's like a particularly bad show.
Yeah. For me, it's just too much episodes, too little time. That's just my problem.
I don't care enough. And then Gotham is the show I care least about because it's a show that doesn't work for me and doesn't make much sense.
I still like it. It's a guilty pleasure for me. Okay. Right? It's one of those things you just shut your brain off and just watch all right, that's cool, that's interesting. Yeah.
Right. And then this year we have a bunch of we seeing films, a lot of other big films that are trying to replicate this mega franchise. superstardom that we've seen for the last year, which is Independence Day.
Yes, a lot of nostalgia big movies.
Right, catering to 90s nostalgia now.
Yeah.
And then we have...
Oh, and there's rumor that, I think it's either rumored or it's going to be a reality. Gonna have a Jumanji remake.
Right, that could potentially be huge.
Another 20th anniversary.
What ended up happening is that, well, because Jurassic World ended up making tons of cash, they only surpassed by Avatar and, well, at this point, Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
Right.
The Independence Day trying to bank on that nostalgia money, and it might. Not sure it will.
Yeah.
Don't know if it will. That might be a gamble that might not work. But I when I saw what Jurassic World did, and I thought Jurassic World was less than mediocre. It was actually quite underwhelming.
It was, but as a B movie,
it was.
It was what it was. It came off as a B movie and it worked.
It more felt like trying to compete with Sharknado and that type of film.
I wouldn't compare it with those, but
in terms of it was just that with a better budget, and that is what it felt like in terms of the film. Like, oh well, a raptor fights the T-Rex at the end, and that stuff. Now, then all of them gang up on the the big whatever.
The big ass,
whoever
it was,
I-Rex. Okay. No, and when I saw that, I was like, okay, if this makes so much money, then how come then Independence Day is expected to make a ton of cash? I'm not sure if it'll do that. Is it's difficult to predict these things. Yeah. But if there's a trend, then Independence Day will make a ton of cash. And even though it might be a terrible film, it might be as bad as looking like Battleship as far as I'm concerned. That last trailer was looking.
You even mentioned Battleship.
Yeah, the last trailer was really underwhelming, and I was like,
"Oh, you find so?"
Yeah, it looked terrible. The story going on, I was like, yeah, this is lazy and not even carrying the story.
I just liked it from a visual perspective.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel like, oh, this is how ID4, well, Independence Day was back in '96. Exactly. It just felt really different. But
and then
still,
on top of that, Will Smith is not part of it, and that to me was a big selling point of the movie. Whatever.
Yeah.
We will see. Whatever.
We're also having, but I really hope that we get that down here in Trinidad, a re-release of Terminator 2: Judgment Day.
Oh, really?
Which, in my opinion, is the best action movie ever made.
Right, okay.
But it's celebrating its 25th anniversary.
Okay.
So it's going to be re-released in 3D.
Okay, now I could see myself going to see that because they did that for Jurassic Park. I remember it. And I thought that wasn't half bad. I thought that was okay. If I was a big fan, I wasn't the biggest fan of a Jurassic Park.
Neither me, but I know the impact it made.
But there's a whole audience that love that movie. So I'll say the biggest, well, of course, arguably the biggest movie ever we'll see worldwide. Well, domestic for the United States is Star Wars: The Force Awakens. It's recently passed Avatar, and it still hasn't opened in China yet.
Wow.
I think it just opened China today or something like at the time of this recording. So it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be the biggest movie again.
Yeah, but it's just amazing though when you really think about it.
Numbers wise, again, I already said my opinion about this Force Awakens, what it is. It's Disney, the age of mediocrity.
Yeah.
But it's money. They know what they're doing from a money making standpoint. They understand how the world works. They really do. In that sense.
And speaking of which, we're having Rogue One, which is one of the prequels to Star Wars, which I honestly am not keen for because I just don't like the idea of them doing prequels on top of sequels. But if this is Disney's plan to take over the world with Star Wars, well, what am I to say?
Yeah, we'll see. So, I expect Rogue One to be okay. Whatever, we'll see with it. Force Awakens had to be the way it was, in my opinion.
For better or for worse.
Yeah, they had to do it that way. They couldn't play with it or tinker with it in that sense. And it worked perfectly. The plan worked perfectly. They made a ton of cash. Right. Again, much more than Avatar. It was just huge. This thing was like a supernova hitting cinema.
Yeah, that it was.
I think this weekend, it was the first weekend that it was in the American domestic box office was beaten.
Okay.
For the first time. This was by The Revenant.
Yeah.
The Revenant has just opened in the United States. It's coming out Wednesday. At the time, Wednesday this is Sunday today. Mm-hmm. So Wednesday I'll be going to see it on the premiere. We'll be doing that hopefully next week.
Yes. I'll definitely check that movie.
Although I've seen the movie before, and I really enjoyed it, and that's why it was on our last year list.
Yeah, but we just have to see it on big screen.
Yeah, I have to go see it on big. I will go see it a second time. Right. Speaking of that,
but just before we get it, so what about music as well too? Well, from what I could think of in terms of hip hop, Kendrick Lamar probably dropping the most important rap record of the year last year, To Pimp a Butterfly. Now we're hearing talks about him collaborating with J. Cole, which was which was a collabo album that people were waiting for years. Well, a few years or so since they kind of hinted at it. Got a few tracks where J. Cole rapped over one of Kendrick's beats and vice versa. Right. So it's kind of like, all right, when's this gonna happen? And then we got a cover fit, an unofficial cover for the album. I'm not sure what he released this. I'm not sure if it came out as yet, but if this is gonna be a reality, then I'm looking forward to that. Okay. So that's one. Also, Kanye's album is supposed to drop as well too, which he pushed back, I guess, because of
I've been seeing. Okay, so I do follow Kanye West on SoundCloud. Yeah, I've seen him putting out stuff. Yeah, interesting.
He put out one last week, Real Friends.
Right.
Yeah, which
was I saw some
good.
stuff. I saw some stuff like yesterday and the day before, like this stuff.
Oh, he brought on more stuff then.
Right. Yeah, I saw a couple other things. Isn't it sounding good, sounding decent? What else?
Yeah. I was hearing talks about Andre 3000 from Outkast may drop a project. Well, sorry, he's considering dropping one. I'm not sure if he will this year. Okay. I'm still waiting for the reunion of Outkast, although it might not be a reality. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, apart from that, I can't really think off my head any major hip hop projects dropping this year. So I'll just be surprised by what comes up.
Right. What else? Television.
We have Game of Thrones season 6 coming out.
Right.
Everybody's hinting at maybe the possibility that Jon Snow may return. Yeah. Or most of the story might linger on his presence, I guess. Yeah.
I've regretted not starting to watch this year, and I would have talked about it. I will talk about it now. Is a show called The Expanse.
Expanse.
Yeah, nice.
What network is it on?
This is it's supposed to be on Sci-Fi soon, I think, but I saw it online. It was entirely online, like it was totally not leaked. It was released on torrents, on a torrent website.
All right. How many episodes?
So far, it's been 6 episodes.
So there's still more to come.
Yeah, it's 10 for the first season. So we'll see that the rest of that. It's pretty damn good. It's more hard sci-fi. But the mystery is pretty good. What's going on? The twist with it is quite good. And and I think this is the issue I have, and we're going to see this argument replay itself again, which is the age of the distinction between art and commerce. The age, I call it Disney's age of mediocrity. This is how I look at it. This again might sound bad, but J.J. Abrams I will compare to Carlos Mencia. If you understand that, if you can understand that reference, so that's how I see him. He just knows how to appeal to a mass audience and people who are relatively ignorant of what is quote unquote good. Yeah, and he just rehash that stuff for them.
Whatever happened to Carlos Mencia?
Yeah, his career was destroyed. Why? Because he stole material
from
many comedians throughout the years. You're usually rehashing jokes from so many other comedians at the time. Right.
I could think Dave Chappelle. I think that's he didn't. I
think he steal 1 or 2 jokes from Dave Chappelle, but this wasn't really Dave Chappelle. You could go back even further. He just took material, rehash it, and then sell it back.
Right, and try to put some Hispanic spin on it.
Right, which is even worse because he's not even a Mexican, but he constantly yells the word Beano, and that was a
anyway, that was a gimmick. But anyway,
the point is that he used a very uncreative force, and even though I defended JJ in my Star Wars review, I still think that's the direction he took, and he kind of had to take it. He's forced to, unfortunately. He is making a new series though. I think, and I forgot.
TV series?
Yeah, new series.
I thought he abandoned TV and,
It's him, and I think it was also, it's based on a book, and it's also a Stephen King idea involved with it. So there's, I forget the name of it, it's coming out soon. So you have his name is attached to a lot of projects. In and around, which makes sense because, again, Star Wars made multiple Titanic boatloads of cash. Yeah. And not metaphorically and physically. Both. Right, both in terms of the movie, and in terms of the actual boatloads of cash.
Right. And speaking of which, we have, I know a show that you're least looking forward to, Star Trek.
Yes. Star Trek. What is Beyond?
Yeah, Star Trek Beyond or Star Trek Tokyo Drift or whatever you want to call it.
Two Trek,
Too Furious.
The thing with Star Trek, I've really found myself maturing on the material at this point in terms of what has to happen with it. But yeah, this is going to be terrible. I don't expect it to be good. I expect it to be as bad as Into Darkness. If it's proven me wrong.
You find Into Darkness was that bad?
Yeah, that's terrible. Because again, it's...
No, I mean,
not
from a Trekkie perspective. I just mean as a movie.
No, as a movie, yeah. Because of what I call the Carlos Mencia premise. What I call the Carlos Mencia problem. Which is you rehash it and you just assume that everyone who knows the original is dead.
Right.
That's your attitude.
Like, Khan and all that stuff.
Yeah, instead of coming up with something new, you just rehashing the damn thing. And that kind of pisses me off now. You just assume that everyone who was into the original material is dead. That's the attitude. Well, it's the new generation. Let me sell them up the old crap. Come on. That's lazy. That loses a lot of, a lot of respect in my opinion. That's why I didn't really like Creed all that much. Because of that same thing. It felt rehashed. It felt rehashed. I had a problem with that.
Yeah, but I know what you mean. No problem.
You could come up with so many new things, new material and new ideas, and it had many room to do something creative with it, and they didn't do that. They don't care. They just playing it safe. I get why you had to play it safe. There's a lot of money riding on it, but still, they could do something with it.
All right. Well, the last thing I could mention in terms of like 2015, in terms of movies, something very strange, but I for one could have seen it coming. This whole nostalgia wave.
Yeah.
Everything was just these nostalgia pieces. I thought it was just Terminator Genesis and Jurassic World, and then into Peanuts movie, Star Wars, The Force Awakens, Creed, which you just talked about.
Yeah.
So many to mention.
Again, I don't mind that, and I know why it is. Again, we'll go back again the art versus commerce argument. Right. I have no problem with that because I want to see new IPs get a chance. This is why I do still respect Guillermo del Toro. I was about to say
for doing or trying new things.
Right. Oh, I do respect the Wachowskis, right?
Yeah.
Because they're trying something new. It might fail and flop, and that's the problem. They are examples of why it is that you don't try a new IPs. Because you try a new IP, it fail miserably, and then everybody like, look, they fail. These are the guys who made The Matrix, but that worked then. If The Matrix busts, well, that would be a different story. It would be a different history. Mm-hmm. And it is interesting to see how that cycle, if there's a cycle at all, how it will play out in terms of when to time a new IP and make it huge and make it work and make it good and have it not be following for cliches or whatever it is and trying to be quote unquote truly original or as quote
like Terminator Genesis, for example.
Right. Yeah. Well, no, but that's the thing with Terminator Genesis. It's a shame because they could have really tried something new and they kind of tried it, but it didn't work.
They started off trying it and then they just I don't know.
But we talk about just new IPs entirely, like a brand new science fiction IP. Yeah, and it exists because we have so much material now, so much money in terms of people getting a chance to see stuff, and so much technology relatively being cheap. Mm-hmm. You could get to see The Expanse, for example, quite good, but you could tell the budget a bit on the low end.
Well, yeah, because
but you have good people, you have good actors in it. It has this guy, the first Punisher actor, was
what's his face?
He was in Hung. He was in a show called Hung on HBO.
Okay, I can't remember. Thomas Jane?
Thomas Jane.
There we go, right.
Yeah. He's in it. He's one of the main stars. Quite good.
Right.
And they get into the whole biology of gravity, how gravity affects people. So basically you have 4 different cultures. And it's basically the only way to differentiate them biologically is through how much gravity they've been exposed by, all humans. But some grew up in zero gravity. Some people grew up on the moon. Some people grew up on Mars. And then some people grow up on Earth.
Okay.
And there's a whole thing with that. So that's hard science. And it really holds on to the hard science reasonably well.
Yeah, but that's something that you could translate easy into a series. Into a movie. It's going to be way harder.
Time, yeah. And we will see that whole paradigm shift with respect to how it is that you're going to balance art and commerce and do an interesting story and idea and then try to make money at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be really difficult to see that because only very few filmmakers, as we repeat ourselves, the only filmmaker I think really kind of did a good job of walking a tightrope was Christopher Nolan. He's the person that really does a good job of trying to give you something big and original and relatively interesting and new with his ideas. And even he falters, I think.
But it's still that movie-going experience that will be a money's worth.
That's the main point. And we'll talk about this with Revenant, and we're going to talk about this with
Hateful Eight,
which is how to get your ass out of your house and into a theater.
Cinema. And stay there until the movie ends.
Yeah, how to do that.
Yes.
And we're going to just I'm going to just do this very, very awkward segue straight into the Hateful Eight review.
Go ahead, do it.
Yo, this that example proves how you have to be what they call a holistic filmmaker. And boy, oh boy, Quentin Tarantino is a holistic filmmaker. This man knows how to get you. He knows how to get you out of the theaters into the cinema. Sorry, out of your house into the cinema and make you make that material work.
Yeah.
This movie, I would make the mistake of, I totally regret watching this film. As
a screener copy.
As a screener copy.
Yeah.
It's the quality is the same, On my television, I had a relatively big television. My television screen is not small. It's a reasonable size, about 52.
Right.
It's okay. Watch it in the dark, try to get a cinematic experience. I still didn't enjoy it. And I thought this was, I didn't consider Hateful Eight on part of my list, and I kind of regretting that now. Now, watching it in theaters is a totally different experience.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Totally different experience. And it's like, wow, this is 70 millimeter.
Yeah.
Full swing close. That, you totally noticed that. So I went to see it in Movie Town in Shogunas. Now, in Trinidad, the only theater, and this big props to Movie Town, this is one thing that Movie Town has going for it, is that Movie Town, from what I understand, at least just from just my experiences in terms of particular films, you'll get to see more rarer films in the Movie Town Port of Spain. They'll just come for a weekend and go away. I don't think Ex Machina showed anywhere else but that, as far as I know. And they also follow projector instructions in Port of Spain Movie Town.
Okay.
I did not see it in Port of Spain Movie Town, however. I went to see it in Port of Spain. I'm sorry, in Shogunas Movie Town. And I still enjoyed it, but I get the feeling that if I went to Port of Spain Movie Town, I'd probably see it properly.
Right.
I get that feeling. However, it didn't matter. The final product was excellent. Again, my big complaint about the Hateful Eight was how it was too long. It was stretched out and watered out. Nope, the time flew. This was me seeing it the second time. I should have gone see this in IMAX. In the United States, they have a roadshow version where you get a booklet copy and you're supposed to have an intermission missing sometime.
Yeah, there's an overture and there's an outro at the end and stuff.
Yeah, I heard also some extra, like an extra 10 minutes of footage or so, like you could get with the edit now.
Yeah, I heard there was some issues in terms of the roadshow, like I think there was some issues in terms of the screening, like how the film was showcased or what.
Yeah, and you had to follow projection because I knew a couple people was making mistakes with the projector. Some projector, and I really feel sorry for some of those people where the projectionist was not following instructions properly or did not operate a projector properly.
Right.
So some people were getting mismatches in sound, unfortunately, some mismatches in frame. So you see in the frame before it, before it switches scene. You see in the next frame, it's like, that's kind of unfortunate. 70mm, this is how you're supposed to shoot a damn movie, boy.
Yeah, well, actually, it was filmed in 65mm on film, people, not digitally.
Yeah,
it was 65mm and projected on 70mm, which is like the widest possible screen that you could think of.
And it looked damn good.
Yeah, it did.
The thing is, I'll say, okay, so just judging the film itself, I was not that impressed with the vistas. It only had one vista shot I really liked. This was when, slight spoiler, you see the scene where the guy was naked in the snow.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's how the scene was just cut in half and it's just white and blue. That I thought was a great shot.
Yeah.
This movie shot in snow.
Yes.
For what I understand, the set was 0 degrees. It was very cool. So that, like I was watching the mist coming out of the character's mouth, and I was
that was something that Tarantino wanted. He wanted to really emphasize on the cool.
And I was thinking, like, wait, that mist is CG or not? I wonder.
No.
And then I take a while. I was like, oh no, it's real mist. Whoa, wait, the set was 0 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
I think it was really cool.
Yeah.
It was a genuinely cool scene. And this is why we're going to talk about this with the Revenant again, which is the set is a ridiculously brutal set.
Yes, it was. Oh my god.
And we get to see great characterization. Story was, even though I didn't like I still don't like the ending.
Alright, I will talk about not spoil the ending, but I will talk about that.
The acting was excellent in this movie. So the people who stood out for me in terms of acting for this film, I think should get some Oscar nominations. Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Yes.
She was excellent.
The funny thing is that is only after the second time I saw the movie, because I watched it. I didn't go to Movie Town Shogunas to see it. I saw it in good old-fashioned Caribbean Cinemas 8 in Trinity. And though I didn't get, it's not like I was going to get that 70mm experience, but the screen was wide enough for me to really enjoy the vastness of it. And yes, watching it again, I was a little bit more impressed by Jennifer Jason Leigh's performance. The first time I was like, all right, she didn't really do much. She didn't really have that much of a presence, or she didn't really have that much to do. Right. But then when I watched it over, it's like, Okay, right. Now I get it now. Yes. Now I see where the praise comes from.
But this is what I keep talking about with the whole scene in cinema, because it's just not like me watching it on my TV. It was still a distraction. Tarantino.
Totally agreed.
Tarantino, again, the holistic cinema approach. Tarantino really gets you to how to focus on a character and framing. Everything about this film improved.
Yes.
For me, watching it in a theater.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, this is totally different though.
Yeah, you have no distractions. You have no Facebook.
Everything
you have nothing to bother.
No, but it wasn't. I was watching it straight. I try to replicate the cinema feel in the house as much as I can. Turn off the lights, big screen. It looked good.
You're right.
It not say it looked like crap or anything like that. It looked good. Couldn't complain about that. But I was like, it's a totally different experience because you see it in a theater.
Mm-hmm.
This is how to see it. This is as filmmaker who, I heard he making 2 more movies.
2 more, and then I will say this because I'm a big Tarantino fan, and I'll get to that once you finish your review, right?
Yeah.
So he has 2 more films that he wants to do. I believe he wants to do a horror film.
Okay.
That was the last thing I heard. He wants to do a really, 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 really scary, frightening horror movie.
Okay.
And he promised us a martial arts film for ages.
Yes, we have not.
Mandarin. I'm hoping that should be his last film, and then after that he will just go into writing books and actually doing plays, like adapting his scripts for plays. So actually he has the Hateful Eight in mind to actually turn into a play.
Yeah, but
and just the way how it was structured, the film, it would work perfectly as a play.
Yeah, exactly. Hateful Eight was a great play. This film, as I said, I really enjoyed. It had great characterization.
Right. Don't get to the rating as yet, but
no, I rated. No,
right.
I just telling what I liked.
Okay.
The characterization was excellent. The pacing worked perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
I keep saying again, when watching it first time, I was like, too long, didn't like it.
Yeah.
I still will say, one of my least favorite Tarantino films. It's not one of my favorites.
Understood. No problem.
Only because some of the actors wasn't up to snuff. And there's only one actor I'll say really threw me off. I didn't like him. This was Tim Roth's character. He was too much Nigel Thornberry.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I think it's because I just missing Christoph Waltz in Tarantino's films.
Yeah, but actually Christoph Waltz was supposed to be in this movie. I can't remember what character.
I suspect it's supposed to be Tim Roth's character. Because if it was Tim Roth's character, it'd be perfect like that. This enunciating, gentlemanly, but he's a psychopath kind of thing.
Yeah, but then you had to devote a lot of time to that character. Okay, Christoph Waltz.
Right.
From since Django Unchained and Inglourious Basterds before that, he steals the show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can imagine him as either being Tim Roth's character or Kurt Russell's character. Okay, yes, Kurt Russell's
in that movie. It was not work as Kurt Russell's character. Kurt Russell's character worked in his way. I couldn't see him.
I have my view on his characters.
So Matthew does give us a run.
So this is alright. So I'm just gonna go on this little geeky little run a little bit because I'm a huge Tarantino fan.
Yeah.
I would always say Kill Bill Volume 1, which came out in 2003. First time I saw that just blew me away.
Yeah.
That motivated me more or less to study film because what that show did, it was just like took all these genres, blaxploitation, anime, Shanbara, the revenge flicks, stuff from the 70s and 80s, stuff that you don't think would have worked if you form them together.
Yeah. And
somehow he takes bits and pieces of all those and makes it into this cohesive whole and he makes it work.
Yeah.
And I was just blown away. I was like, I want to do something like that,
Yeah.
But anyway, so just a little rundown about his films. This here, Hateful Eight being his 8th film. So he started off. Actually, he got his first really major credit with writing the script for a movie called True Romance,
right? Yeah.
Which came out in '91. It was directed by the late great Tony Scott,
right?
The brother of Ridley Scott.
Yeah.
Really, decent film, but when you watch it, you could tell. You see a lot of Tarantino isms in it. References to pop culture and movies.
Yeah.
These really intricate dialogue, it just sounds like something that comes directly out of a paperback novel or something.
Does it have a trunk shot? and a foot fetish shot? Yeah,
foot fetish, over the top violence,
yeah.
Just really brutal, and it just shows up just out of the blue, that's his signatures, Alright, so 92 he came out with Reservoir Dogs, low budget film, premiered it in Cannes, it was the talk of the town. It sparked controversy because of a certain scene where a guy's ear got
so one of my favorite
torn
songs.
up. Yeah, got not torn off. Sorry, got
cut off.
And the funny is that watching
Michael
it today, Yeah, by Michael Madsen, who's also in Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, like, just a spoiler alert for those who haven't seen it, you don't see the actual shot of the ear being cut off. It was actually there, like if you watch the behind the scenes of Reservoir Dogs, you do see it. But because it didn't look that perfect, they just took it out.
Right.
But just the impact of it, just knowing the fact that somebody's ear is cut off, and then you're hearing this really bubblegum pop song playing back, stuck in the middle with you.
Yeah.
That just freaked people out. And like, you know, in retrospect today, I understand why people got freaked out. It's still a very powerful scene. And it's still a decent movie.
Yeah.
Not a great film, but
Tarantino always
decent.
does juxtaposition with violence and violence and cheeriness quite well.
And that's part of this whole dark humor that he has in his films.
That black humor that he does very well.
Yeah.
Again, he's what I call the eternal film student.
Yes. Which is why I really
does stuff really. I mean,
rate him.
it's a good thing in that sense. Some people argue that he should have grown up in a sense, and the film that was supposed to do that was Jackie Brown. Where even though it's you could find a ton of references shot for shot.
Of course.
In Jackie Brown, it was supposed to be the turn in his career, and a lot of people didn't receive it very well.
Yeah, and the reason being is because of Pulp Fiction, which is the second film.
And it's only
came
because
out.
it's such a big Pulp Fiction is such a big movie. This one that was kind of unfair of everybody.
Yeah, I find so.
He kind of turned back. He kind of was like, all right, he going back, and he just and as a career, and that's what we kind of had to talk about in that sense.
Yeah, but with Jackie Brown now, I think that was where he was referencing Elmore Leonard.
Yeah.
The author.
Yeah.
He took one of his books actually and just adapted it into this as really a straightforward 90s drama, crime, thriller, comedy kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he adds elements of blaxploitation into it. He has of course Samuel L. Jackson in it, Robert De Niro in it, and of course Pam Grier.
Yeah.
With a I wouldn't call it a career redefining performance, but she really did show why she is such a iconic actress, you know. But of course, before that, Pulp Fiction, that's the one that really shot him into the mainstream. Just the way how it was structured, just taking these different scenarios and stories, just taking scenarios from, like 40s noir films and just putting it in a 90s setting and then twisting it about. So, like, everything takes place in 2 days, but the structure is non-linear. So you have to kind of follow up on what's going on and what takes place at what certain point in time and whatnot. John Travolta's career was renewed.
Yep.
Bruce Willis showed that there was more to him than just being this action hero. Uma Thurman,
Starter,
Well, she acted before, but this one really put her in the mainstream as well too.
Right.
Ving Rhames, of course, two memorable performances as Marcellus Wallace. Of course, Samuel Jackson, quotable.
Quick question: is he a bitch?
He is not a bitch.
Right.
Why you try to fuck him like a bitch?
Yeah.
Of course, Samuel Jackson with these memorable lines, quote after quote after quote from this guy,
Yeah.
And of course, right, so there was Jackie Brown, which was criminally underrated.
Yeah.
And I do understand what you mean, where people kind of expected another Pulp Fiction, expected another violent, over-the-top thing, and what he got was just this complex, really, it was really a complex film. But I would say it's not one of my favorites, but I do understand where he's coming from with it. I do like it for what it was.
Right.
So he took some time off. He helped out his fellow filmmaker partner in crime, Robert Rodriguez, with From Dusk Till Dawn, which is still a guilty pleasure movie for me. Yeah, what I like the most about it is how it's structured. Like, if you saw the trailer for it, guys, right, vampires in this bar, and okay, this is what it is. But when you really watch the film, it's like, okay, where are the vampires? Where's this going?
Yeah.
And it goes one way, you're thinking it's this kind of crime thriller kind of thing, and then it just takes this sudden detour into
Salma Hayek was it?
Vampire territory. It's like, wait, what?
Salma Hayek.
Salma Hayek was here. She was one of the strippers at the bar, and she was smoking hot.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So he came back, of course, with Kill Bill Volume 1, which was supposed to be part of this overall big 4-hour epic Kill Bill film. But he broke it up into two films. So the first one came out in 2003. One which I saw blew me away. Lucy Liu was badass. Uma Thurman, Vivica A. Fox was badass as well too. And of course we saw David Carradine. Sure, well, we didn't see him. We just heard his voice. Another late great. But we saw him actually in the sequel, which came out a year later. And what I like the most about just the overall film is just how it was structured as well too. First half is just your straight up action flick. Rape, revenge, that kind of thing. A lot of style and substance as well too. And then with the second half, you got the drama, you got the real story. You understood why things happened there. So first half was questions, second half was answers, really.
I don't know if I'm in the minority. I think I am about this, which is I prefer Volume 2.
Yeah, I know a lot of people prefer 2
I
for the
prefer
story,
Volume 2.
but
I happen to prefer
1 for me, I love it just because it's style of it.
But I think I'm in the minority with that one. I really like Volume 2, mostly because the training sequence was just hilarious.
Oh yeah, so I'm with Paimon.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gordon Liu's character.
Yeah.
Another iconic martial artist.
And then I loved Bill's interpretation of Superman.
Yes.
Love that speech, love that scene again. Tarantino on top of his game in terms of dialogue.
Yeah.
Again, at no point you get the sense that it was necessarily Tarantino's interpretation of Superman. Probably is, but it's really Bill's interpretation of Superman. You totally get into Bill's character.
You really understood why he is what he is, and that is one thing that I really love about Tarantino's movies. It's not like these characters are good because they're written this way or they're bad because there's complexities to, there's layers to them. And you start to see these sort of layers with the characters in other films. So with the next film, Death Proof, which was another part of a collaborative effort with Robert Rodriguez to recreate the grindhouse experience of the 70s, where you got the double bill feature, you got these kind of sleazy, over the top, really violent, really crude B movies. So Robert Rodriguez, Planet Terror, which I actually preferred more because it stayed true to what it was. It was over the top, it was crazy, it was insane. But
I really liked Planet Terror, and I really found myself hating Death Proof.
And like the issue with Death Proof, and I actually watched it over before I watched Hateful Eight. It's just the structure of it overall. It starts off with the sort of sleaziness of the those 70s films, the sexualized women, and they're being targeted by this.
Death Proof.
By this killer who drives a stunt car. And it's played by Kurt Russell, who plays Stuntman Mike.
Right.
And the thing is, like, it's going a kind of way. It has the visual aesthetic and whatnot of the 70s films that Planet Terror stayed with all through the film. So with this one, you have the Tarantino dialogue where characters talk about different issues, and you're kind of wondering, it's all about character development. But in this one, it felt like this is padding. It's not interesting. There's one thing about Tarantino dialogue, it's always interesting, even if it doesn't relate to the story. There's always something very interesting, very thought-provoking, very something to really sit down and make you think a bit, and you enjoy the way how it's being delivered. In this one, it's just chicks talking about how many guys he had sex with, or what bar they're gonna go to, or who they met before, and who's a lesbian, and it's just really not going anywhere. And then of course Stuntman Mike shows up halfway into the film, and he kills off these random group of girls, and then something weird happens in the second half where it switches to black and white. So the sort of grindhouse aesthetic, which is the grain and hiss and all that stuff, disappears. So it's just straight black and white. Then all of a sudden it switches to full colors, full digital. Looks modern day. And we have a new set of girls now. So we have Zoe Bell, which is one of Tarantino's regular actors. Well, she started off as a stunt woman. She was the stunt woman for Uma Thurman and Kill Bill 1 and 2. But then he really saw like the potential she had as an actress. Her coming from New Zealand, she actually was the stunt woman for Lucy Lawless in Xena Warrior Princess.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay. So he saw that potential, and then he brought her in to act as herself. She was playing herself basically. So her and a few other stunt women, Rosario Dawson was in it, a few other actresses as well too. And they run into Stuntman Mike, and he tries to kill them. He tries to run them off the road, and they're like, well, oh, fuck that shit, we're going after him. And then we have this really awesome car chase scene in the end, so they catch up with him, and then weirdly enough, he starts to cry like a bitch. He's like, no. And then they beat the shit out of him, and then this ends. But it's still kind of like jarring to me, because what's the overall point?
Death Proof. For me,
not a great movie.
Now I remember Death Proof was, for me, just felt like a colossal waste of time.
Oh, and even Tarantino says he dismisses it. He hates it now. It just didn't have any focus. It didn't have anything to it really, But you were saying?
For me, Death Proof, I hated it. I remember it just felt like a waste of my time.
And it didn't stay true to the grindhouse style anyway. So what was the point? Right. So anyway, so he came back. So fortunately, he came back, I believe, in 2009 with Inglourious Basterds.
Yes, I love that movie.
Bastards, which, oddly enough, is not a remake of Italian war film called The Inglourious Basterds, which was partly the inspiration for this film. And I actually watched that film early enough before I went to see Hateful Eight, like on the same day.
Yeah.
Right? And what impressed me about, like, even the first time I saw it, and it threw me off the first time I saw it, is that it didn't feel like a war movie at all.
No,
it was advertised like a war film. You thought it was just about Brad Pitt and his band of, Nazi hating soldiers going up against Christoph Waltz and, the whole Third Reich.
Yeah.
But actually it wasn't. It was more about this homage to old school film and cinema and whatnot. And, it was the film buff and the film student side of Tarantino coming out again.
Yeah, so this movie, I love this movie. I will say two things. So it was Tarantino showing off.
I know more about film than you do.
So this whole sequence with Mike Myers and just talking about film history apparently, which was hilarious, but it was awesome at the same time. Yeah. Another thing I noticed was the film wasn't so much about the Inglourious Basterds.
Exactly. Or if you want to think about it, and this is what I'll get to with Hateful Eight, is that once again painting characters grey, not black or white. Yeah. And another thing I forgot to mention too, something that he also set up from since Reservoir Dogs, which was the theme of character. About not just so much actors, like real actors playing characters, but the characters in the film playing characters. So I'll just go back to Reservoir Dogs just for a quick bit. So like there's this one scene where Tim Roth's character, Tim Roth of course, who shows back up in Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
And he's a cop who goes undercover with this group of criminals, and the criminals of course try to rob this bank, try to take these stash of diamonds, and then things go wrong. So he is the cop that's undercover, so he has to prove to the group that he is indeed a gangster. Sorry, he is a criminal, and he started off selling weed and whatnot. So he has to recite the script that one of his superiors gives him. So he has to do it over and over and over and make it his own. So by the time he's performing it and you actually see it in the film, it's like you buy into this, and you could see these other characters buying into it. Yeah. And you see these other things, in Pulp Fiction. This is line, let's get into character, of course, John Travolta being the bad guy, the hitman, but now he has to be this date more or less for Uma Thurman's character, so he has to kind of pretend to be somebody that he's not, and that's a theme that also shows up in a lot of his films, and then of course in Inglourious Basterds where you have Christoph Waltz being the bad guy, the Jew hunter, and you're thinking that he is just this terrible guy, and he is terrible at points, but at some point in time he is a gentleman. He will sit down, he will talk to you, he will laugh at you, he laughs at your jokes, he makes jokes and whatnot. He's like, he's this cool guy, but and every once in a while he would flip and
he never cared,
he would kill you at a moment's notice.
And the character was never invested in Nazi ideology either.
Exactly,
never particularly like, it was about this, that, or the other. He didn't really
it was just a job to him at the end of the day. And Christoph Waltz earned Tarantino's second Academy Award win. Of course, his first Academy Award win was for Best Original Screenplay for Pulp Fiction. Well deserved, but Christoph Waltz absolutely killed it in this one. And what I would say with this one, it was more substance over style. It wasn't just, okay, this is going to be Kill Bill, but just set in World War II. It's not that. It's about the story. It's about you really taking in the story and really delving deep and like, I like this. This is very, very, very clever. But then with his next film, where he brought in 2012, Django Unchained, a popular one among many Tarantino and non-Tarantino fans. And people love it a lot. I love it as well too. It's one of my favorites.
For me, Django Unchained was his funniest movie.
Yes. He had a lot of humor. A lot of black humor, but a lot of humor.
Yeah, it was great. Very funny movie.
Jamie Foxx as well too.
Jamie Foxx
superb as Django.
Fantastic performance.
And it's another film where you might hear the name Django and think, it's a remake of the 1966 Django of the same name. And yes, the guy who played Django also shows up.
I know that.
But it's not. It's his version, what he calls a Southern. So it's not a Western. So he takes like Southern America, that slavery aspect, which is which I would say is a very taboo topic in terms of American cinema. Yeah. And he just delves into it.
Embraces it.
And of course sparked a lot of controversy. People like, who's this guy to be making a film about slavery, and why is he glorifying slavery? Why is he using the N-word a lot? Yeah. And that's one thing that he got into hot water a lot too since Reservoir Dogs. Using the N-word, and why should he, a white director, say that? But he never, in this case with Django, he never used it to, oh yeah, I could just use whoever I want. He really shows like just how bad it is.
Yeah, no, I find it is a ridiculous thing to attack him on.
Yeah.
To me, I find it works perfectly.
Yeah, this is how people spoke, you know?
Two things, the impact of the characters, and it established early on who's the bad guys, who the good guys.
Exactly,
in the storyline, it works very well. And we see it a lot in this movie.
Yeah, Christoph Waltz was also in Django Unchained, and Leonardo DiCaprio, who was
fantastic,
very fantastic
and
in this one.
Again, we see we're going to be talking about this with
Revenant.
him sacrificing his body. There's a famous story of Leo cutting himself on set.
Yeah. There was this one shot where he had this colorless hand, he broke it, and he's still talking, and his hand is still bleeding and whatnot. His palm, is still bleeding.
Yeah,
right.
And blood on the face, and it was awesome.
But just to finish up with Django Unchained, so that was another example for me for style and substance working together.
Yeah.
There's a lot of style to it, a lot of flair to it, but of course the story and the script. Of course, the script is which earned him his 3rd Academy Award win for Best Original Screenplay, which is well deserved, I still say, because that screenplay is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Really, so now we have Hateful Eight.
Yes.
This 8th film, another Western, and I would say this much, like, all right, Django Unchained, which was set 2 years before the Civil War, this one was set after the Civil War. And I have a feeling probably set 2 years before, because it seems like, just what happened in the war was still fresh in the characters' minds, right? So it stars Samuel Jackson, he's the lead, Kurt Russell, so which returns, and who's also given a better character.
Great performance,
Great performance from Kurt Russell, you know. Jennifer Jason Leigh, who a lot of people probably haven't heard of. I actually remember her from a film called Single White Female.
Yes. So she's in that, but she had another big film this year. This is...
Carol, I believe the name of it?
No,
not Carol.
Anomalisa.
Anomalisa, yes.
Which I saw, which was pretty damn good. But she did the voice of one of the character called Lisa.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was an animated film. I just figured it as just a live action drama or something.
Since we're not going to do a review for it, I don't want to just take too much time.
We'll do our Academy Award stuff.
Yes, when Academy Awards, because I do expect it to get awards. But I would say it's a movie that didn't need to be animated.
Okay.
That is all I'll say about it.
All right.
It was very good. And I love Charlie Kaufman. He's a fantastic writer.
Right.
But yeah, it didn't need to be animated. There's no need to see with it. Whatever. Moving on.
Okay, right.
Moving back
we have Walton Goggins.
Yes.
Who also was in Django Unchained. He had a very funny bit as a cowboy.
Yeah.
Tim Roth.
Yes. Great.
Yeah, great. Michael Madsen, another favorite Tarantino actor, and finally Bruce Dern, who also appeared in a brief scene in Django Unchained as Django's former slave master.
Yeah. No, right. Walter Goggins really stood out for me in this movie. He was very funny.
Yes, he was.
He is the closest, but he's the only actor. I say he's the closest to having an arc in this. In terms of him switching positions, and you could see why it is he was still on the side of the law.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I was not impressed with I'll say Tim Roth. Even though I enjoyed him in this, he's very silly, but he's a little too much of a cartoon character.
I think so. But I'll say that's because of the whole character thing, which I'll get to as well too.
Yeah.
Right. So it's set after the Civil War. It's not really specified how long, right?
Yeah, it's unclear.
So
you could have kind of pieced together, like if you could say, all right, how long this was, and when Abraham Lincoln died, and who would. So in my head,
although I'm not the keenest in terms of American history.
I thought, as you say about 2 years.
Yeah.
About 2 years, because two things: A, how many missions and how it was established, how long Sam Jackson was being a bounty hunter. It could have been as much as 10 years.
Right.
It could have been at that high, because again, he seemed to have a very long career as a bounty hunter, and as opposed to a soldier, which he is established in the story. But it could be as short as say 5 years. So I'm thinking 2 years maybe, but it could be as high as 10 years, because he's very famous. But it's not that much time passed now. And then when you say Bruce Dern's character, he is, and Walter Goggins' character, both familiar with Sam Jackson's character.
Yeah.
And
which you won't spoil. You have to see for yourself.
No, it's very well done. And because what I thought they were going to do is make it about the three of them, and it was kind of. But then we have some other things, and that was where the main story was.
Right.
So I thought it was going to switch to that, and it switched back to the main story. And as I said, I didn't like the payoff.
I will get to the payoff.
I don't like the payoff, but it was still what they did was there was a reveal of a character that was very funny. when I saw who it was, I was like, oh, I immediately was in stitches. It was funny the first time I watched it. Again funny how it was revealed.
Right.
This is in one of the last chapters, before four passengers.
Oh, that's the second to last chapter, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I thought that was hilarious and really well done.
Right.
But yeah, they could have done more. And then, well, what they do with that is also really funny.
Right.
But yeah,
right.
as I said, I thought you see what's the payoff. I doesn't have a problem with the payoff, but it's still good.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
All right, so like I will try to be a little careful not to reveal too much of the plot, because trust me, going into
it's a movie that you have to. It's a movie you have to use your brain for while it's going.
Exactly.
You can't, like, if anything's spoiled for you going into it, I can't see how you'll like this.
Yeah. You really have to go in fresh, not knowing much about it, just knowing.
Yeah, then you piecing together.
And you just piecing together what's going on. That's actually fun in the movie, you know.
And if you have a workable understanding of American narrative and history, again, no character is nice in this. There's no.
And I'll get to that as well too.
They keep everything nice and grey, but it's shades of grey. It's not everyone equal.
Right.
Every evil is not created equal here. But they do it really well.
Right.
And they do that moral, the moral calculus and moral.
Yeah, which is something different, I would say, compared to his other films.
Yeah.
Right. So, all right. So the Hateful Eight are. I'm reading this off of my phone, guys. So we have Samuel Jackson, who plays Major Marquis Warren.
Yeah.
Who is a bounty hunter? Actually, he was he did serve in the Civil War, and there's this story centered around him, which was, and this is one thing that that Tarantino really emphasizes well too, just the racism of that time.
Yeah.
And it has certain allusions to what happened last year, with police brutality in the States, of course,
And he himself was part of some of those protests.
African Americans being shot for no reason, and then of course him being part of the protests as well too.
Yeah.
Right. We have Kurt Russell, who plays John Root, aka the Hangman, and I would say with his character, he's like a over macho version of John Wayne, of the John Wayne archetype.
Yeah.
He has a John Wayne kind of speech. It's like, well, come here, pilgrim, I'll do this, or that will be the death of me. He has that kind of fashion, but he has this over aggressiveness about him, especially when it comes to his prisoner.
Yeah.
That he's transporting a prisoner by the name of Daisy Domergue, played by Jennifer Jason Leigh. And he is brutish. I would say brutal, but he's rather brutish to her. He has her chain, and like if she speaks out of line or if she goes out of line, he just punches her.
Yeah.
And like the first time I saw it, I was just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Because, and this is again going into character as well too, because you're thinking with Kurt Russell, him being, I wouldn't say he's always a good guy, but him being Kurt Russell, you assuming that he's going to be good. Yeah. I see him doing these things to this woman, and it's like, well, why are you doing this? Yeah. And then this is something very clever that he does, which I will imagine may turn some people off, but with a second viewing or a third one, you really have to really think about it. So you're seeing this guy being aggressive to this girl, you're wondering, well, why are you doing that for? Aren't you supposed to be the good guy? And his character is the Hangman. So basically, he's a guy who's trying to get this prisoner to a place called Red Rock for her to get hanged. For her, well, she's more or less a criminal. I wouldn't say what she's done basically in terms of being a criminal, but at first glance you're seeing this and you're thinking to yourself, well, why is he being this way? And you realize that she is not as good as she may seem, or she's not too much a victim, And that's the same thing that could be said of Samuel Jackson's character as well too.
Yeah.
Where throughout people are, not teasing him, but they're really antagonizing him because of his race.
Yeah.
Right? And you wonder, is it the fact that he's black? Well, yes, the fact that he's black for one thing is the reason why they're being so angry and so pissed off at him. But then later on, you kind of learn about the things that he has done, that he did before. Yeah. Then in the film, you see things that he does, and then you're like, well, wait now. He's not exactly the victim either. He's not that good of a person either. Yeah. And that's, well, the beauty of this film here. Yeah. But, but getting to the other characters as well, too. So we have Walton Goggins, who plays Sheriff Chris Mannix. And he is like the newly appointed, or soon to be newly appointed, sheriff of Red Rock. So he's actually on his way to Red Rock, and then he runs into Samuel Jackson's character, Kurt Russell's, and Jennifer Jason Leigh's. Yeah. right? So
I love this character.
more or less is kind of centered around these 4 characters getting to Red Rock, right? So there's this blizzard that takes place.
Yeah.
And well, there's this midway point, which is what's the name of the
Minnie's
place?
Haberdashery.
Yeah, Minnie's Haberdashery.
Yes.
And this is just the spot where everything else in the story takes place.
Yeah.
This is where just all the major plot points take place, and it's awesome, right? And I'll just kind of make a little detour there. So what Tarantino was trying to do there, what he was trying to evoke. I don't know if you're familiar with a movie from John Carpenter called The Thing.
Yes. That is
Great.
Right, that's a big selling point.
Sci-fi horror film, one of the best ever.
Starred Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell. Yeah.
So Kurt Russell is the star of that.
Yeah.
It is arguably one of the best horror movies you'll see in your life.
Yeah.
And yes, still effective in terms of its scale.
Yeah, what makes that movie work is, again, it's another whodunit, but it's different. It's,
You
have to figure it out. And you have to figure out who is who. But this movie does the same. It gets that feeling. Everybody isolated. Yeah. And you have to figure out the battle movie.
Right.
But you have to make it work.
Yeah, so in that case with The Thing, it was about these characters, men basically just stuck in this research station.
In where?
In the Arctic. In Antarctica.
Right, okay.
There's this alien that could assume the form of whoever it inhabits.
Yeah.
So basically, one of the persons, in that station could be the alien. And one cool thing that John Carpenter did is that when he was shooting the film, he did it in such a way that he never told the actors who was actually the alien. So when it was revealed that, okay, this one guy was it, or this one guy could be it, the cast themselves were shocked. It was like, oh wait, no, I didn't know it was this guy sitting down right next to me. And that brought the whole sense of paranoia and fear, which that film so brilliantly captured. And also, another side note, legendary composer Ennio Morricone.
Yeah.
You may know him as the guy who did the Good, Bad, and the Ugly theme song. Yeah. He practically did the music for the entire Man with No Name trilogy. He did Once Upon a Time in America and some other films as well too. But there were 3 songs from the Thing soundtrack which I've actually listened to and I love. It's one of my favorite soundtracks. And Tarantino actually picked up on those particular songs. He was like, all right, first off, I want you to do the score for my movie. I want you to do it. So it's not like we're using scores from other movies as well too. I want you to do the score for it. But I also want to use your 3 songs from the Thing soundtrack. And I think there was one that he used from another movie called The Exorcist 2, The Heretic, which I've always avoided because I heard that was a shitty sequel.
Right.
So he used those 4 songs in the movie. And how he used it in the film were brilliant as well too. It really brought that sense of darkness, of cold, and that was what the movie really tried to emphasize on. I would say this as a Tarantino fan, this is probably his darkest and most bleak film, but in a very, very good way. So we have the other 4 characters which make the Hateful Eight, which is, forgive me if I'm pronouncing this wrong, we have Damian Bichir as Bob.
Right.
He's a Mexican guy. He was just this kind of like, at first it was kind of like, wait, no, is this a caricature of like, the gringo character of Westerns? We don't have no passport. Let me see your stinking passport. That kind of character. Yeah. But once again, character as well too.
Yeah, he was good.
Yeah, Tim Roth as Oswaldo Mowbray.
Yeah,
and I do agree with Ricardo. He is a little over the top as.
He's basically Nigel Thornberry.
Yeah. He has this really like this distinct English accent. So it's like, I'm Oswaldo Mowbray and I am too, I'm the hangman. Yeah. And that kind of thing. We have Michael Madsen as Joe Gage, aka the cow puncher. And we never see him punch any cows, but he's called the cow puncher for some odd reason. Yeah. And finally we have Bruce Dern as General Sanford.
Yes.
He's a former Confederate general as well too. And he's just this guy in the background. He's just sitting down there just observing things. And you kind of wonder what he has to do with the story, you know. And then soon enough you reveal that, yes, he does. It's not a major part, but it has something to do with how the story does this complete 180.
Yeah.
So without revealing too much, it's just really these 8 characters there in this haberdashery in the night, trying to survive this blizzard, just trying to, just to kill time. And then as soon as we start to learn more about the characters and just certain aspects about the characters are revealed, certain aspects of distrust. There's a lot of distrust, and that distrust just elevates into more paranoia, and then of course in Tarantino fashion, bloody violence.
Yes.
So things happen, people die in really ridiculous ways, and then you're kind of like wondering who did what.
I see what happened with this film, because I thought he would have gone again. The movie would have, if he didn't decide to go too bloody with this one, I would have enjoyed it a little more, because I really love the first half to 2/3 of this film.
So you felt he could have been more restrained with the violence.
Yeah. Because if it was a little more grounded, especially Bob's death. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. There are some moments where it's kind of like he just doing this just to gross out the audience, just to get a rise out of them. But once again, cinema experience, I guess.
Yeah, especially that character. I was like, "This serious? Whoever."
Yeah.
It was too ridiculous what they do with that. He still. I find this is the thing with Tarantino. I find he should have shown restraint for this one. Because if he showed a little more restraint for this one, I would have enjoyed it more. I'm sure of it.
All right.
If it was grounded and a lot more, especially if the violence was more, not this explosive.
Yeah, because it is surprisingly explosive. Like I would say, it's like how Django Unchained was. Like when people get shot, for example, it feels more explosive.
Right, but Django was a comic. That's what it was. Django was like a serial adventure. Django rescuing his maiden from the evil white man. Right, that's what it felt like. That's what it was.
Right.
But this, I thought, okay, you're making the characters grayer. Make everything gray. Make everything
I know what you mean.
And he to put the cartoonish level of violence in this one, that kind of was a little trim off a little.
Right. I understand where you're coming from, because like in this film, it feels a lot more mature in terms of like the storytelling.
Yeah.
You could tell there's a lot of allusions to like what's going on in terms of racism. In America right now.
Yeah.
Or what we think is subtle racism, or
I totally understand. And he's a very liberal man. We know this.
Yeah, especially with Samuel Jackson's character. At first it's all like they're dissing him a lot because he's black. They call him the N-word a lot.
Yeah.
Practically nearly everybody in the film, calls him the N-word.
Right.
And that's just because of who he is. But then it's like, well, I was a soldier. I served in this war.
Yeah.
I deserve as much respect as you guys. But then at the same time, you realize, well, this man did despicable things.
It's because he's a soldier.
Yeah. And that was the beauty about this movie. And that's like, at first it threw me off. It was kind of like, I didn't expect it to go that way. But when I saw it again, it's like I understood a lot more.
Yeah.
Is that, yes, the characters are great. That's what the title is called, The Hateful Eight. It's not, okay, they're good because they're good or they're bad. It's not so much about good or bad. It's really about hate. That's the main thing, hate. And just what causes somebody to be as hateful as all that, to do certain things, So, with Samuel Jackson's character, there's certain things that you see, which I wouldn't reveal, and certain things that you hear about him doing, and then it's like, well, why are you doing? Well, at first you kind of wonder, well, why would he do something like that? And then, of course, it's because of hate. If he wasn't black in America, and if he wasn't, treated that way, and then, of course, maybe it's because of where he was in terms of the Civil War, then he wouldn't have done the things he did. But because he was where he was, then he had to do it. And then you could argue, well, maybe it was all self-centered, or it was all about survival, or maybe not. Maybe it's just because, just means an end. But still, that's really up to the viewer. That's really up to the viewer to judge. It's just these characters, they did these despicable things, but you have to kind of understand or try to get a sense of why, And that was the thing that kind of threw me off the first time, because, seeing, like I said, Kurt Russell's character being this sort of asshole, but a likable asshole in a sense, because just the way how he's performed, how Kurt Russell plays him, you kind of like him on the way how he delivers his performance, but still, you're not supposed to like him,
Yeah.
But because it's Kurt Russell playing this character, you kind of like him, and that goes back to what I was saying before about characters.
Yeah.
Tim Roth, especially as well too, playing this kind of debonair kind of Englishman, but at the same time he says he's a hangman, and he also confesses in one scene that he doesn't care if he hangs a man or a woman, because there's this question, well, how do you feel hanging a woman? It's like, well, it's nothing to me, because this is my job.
Yeah. No, they do a good job with the whole idea of justice and
frontier justice as well too.
Yeah, they do a lot of great. As I said, it is. If it wasn't for the violence being so ridiculous and comical,
yes, it was.
It would have been a much stronger film for me.
Yeah.
Just I said the two things. Now again, I recant my position on the length of the film being a weakness. It is not.
Right.
I thought so. Watching it for the first time, and then second time around, I was like, no, the time totally flew by watching it over. A lot of material and dialogue about what they're talking about with respect to the idea of basically, no one is innocent, but we're not at the same time. You don't throw it out and you don't throw out the baby with the bathwater in terms of morality.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's still justice has to be served from X, Y, and Z standpoint.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, and I know that will, like, for me, it turned more off slightly, especially with the end, with how it turns out that, is this justice or is this retribution?
Right.
Well, what happens?
They do a great job with it because, with the payoff, the last line where they wanted to respect a certain character. His wishes. They do a good job with that, and I was like, okay, this is where the strength of the film is.
Yeah.
And it was good. It's a good ending. I still would have preferred something a bit better or different.
Yeah, I actually agree. I think the ending could have had a little bit more polish.
Yeah, but it still was work. I still got where he was going with this and why it is a story. It's a strong movie in that sense.
Yeah. And even the end of it too, just the way how it ends, which I need to keep stressing. I won't reveal because you need to see it for yourself. It has this really bleak end, and I think this is just him going back to like how the thing ended, that movie ended. Because that ending is very, very bleak.
Yeah.
My God, that was a bleak ending. And in this case, it was more bleak on a social context. In terms of, maybe one day things might be better. Maybe things will work out, but for now, probably not, And we've seen this in the film in terms of a civil war setting. That yes, the war has ended, but it's not like we're all free. We're always gonna face persecution. We're always gonna face discrimination. Now we see it's kind of like an allusion to today now, where we think we're free. We think that we things are fine, but actually it's not exactly that great, and it may not be for the best. It might not. Things mightn't be better, at the end of the day, and that's where I saw the maturity in the script, where it's like him kind of looking at, just how things are today from a social perspective.
Yeah, that's a very reflective script.
It was.
So it's a strong movie, and it's a movie that I think I do believe if I give it extra watchings, I'll probably enjoy it more and more over time.
Same here.
I get the feeling with that because very, very, very rarely a movie I watch the second time and I enjoy it more than the first time.
Me too.
Again, sadly is an experiment I can't run where I could have just seen it the first time
or see it on big screen and
the
be
first time,
blown
and
away
I really regret, and then watch it over home. Usually that's how it goes.
Yeah.
But this time it was the opposite because of the screener leak.
Right.
And I would have,
Yeah.
That's the thing. So
well, I actually compare that to like my experience with Inglourious Basterds, where I went in expecting, well, not really not knowing what to expect. I just expected a war film with a little mix of spaghetti western in it and thing, and I got something way different. And while I enjoyed the film, it still kind of took me back a bit. Because I was like, this is not what I expected. But then when I watched it again on big screen, second time, I was like, okay, now I like it. I like it a little bit more now. I know when I saw it third or fourth time, on home media, I enjoyed it, but not as much as say Kill Bill or whatnot. So for me, I would say there's like three categories of like Tarantino films. So there's like style and substance working hand in hand. That would be like Pulp Fiction, Kill Bill, Django Unchained, all of which I love.
Yeah.
So there's that category, and then there's substance over style, which is like Inglourious Basterds, Jackie Brown, and in this case, Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
Where it's not so much about the style and the visual aesthetic and how it looks.
Yeah.
It's about the substance, about the stories, about the characters, what's going on.
Even though it's very well shot.
And props to Robert Richardson.
Yeah.
Who has been the director of photography for a lot of Tarantino's films. He does a fantastic job with this. See a lot of.
Who produced this movie? Weinstein's produced this?
Yeah, the Weinstein's produced it again.
No, that is hilarious because I was like, well, Weinstein's do usually don't skimp on money.
Yeah, but
this had to be an expensive movie.
What was different compared like to his last two films? Because all right, like Django Unchained, they had Columbia Pictures supporting them. So Tarantino, of course, he loves his 60s and 70s movies. He would show the old intro for Columbia Pictures, which is really cool, by the way. With Inglourious Basterds before that, Universal Studios were had a hand in it as well too. So you use the old Universal Studios logo as well too, before the film starts. And this one with Hateful Eight, it was just the wine scenes. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was cool. Yeah. So yes, the wine scenes. They did produce it as well too.
Yes. So,
Well, let me just wrap up with this answer, right? So, props to Robert Richardson, who did a fantastic job with the visuals. He really got the sense of cold and isolation as well.
I noticed it first in the carriage. They had these weird spotlights ever so often. That stood out to me. This is the first time in the carriage when he showed
the medium shot.
Yeah, but they had these spotlights, like shining lights just on a thing.
Yes.
So, like, an example of that would have been when
he also did that in Django Unchained.
Yeah, a lot.
There was the bar scene. They had a lot of spotlights.
When they showed the Lincoln letter for the first time.
Right.
They showed that. You saw it on the table. You saw it in the background a couple of times. That was kind of strange.
Yeah. But I think that was just style. That was just to add a little flavor.
This light is bright. And I was like, wait, the sunlight's so bright through the window on top of the like, can't be that bright.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So yeah, performances were great throughout.
Yeah.
I would say like Jennifer Jason Leigh's, I thought her performance was I felt it was too subdued. The first time I saw it, I thought it was just too subdued because she was just the prisoner and she was just, just there in the back, not really there in the background, but she was just caged to this person. It's like, what's the big deal? She's just caged. She's crude. She's vile. She takes a punch every once in a while. She's gross, like unbelievably gross. But then the second time I saw it, it's like
not out on those.
Yeah, but like the second time I saw it, it's like, okay, yes, I understand. I get where the appeal comes from. It's a very bold performance, a very brave performance. I don't think it was easy for her to do. Just her being the victim and then realizing that she's not so much the victim. If she wins, that wins. But if she gets a supporting actress nom at the Academy Awards, great.
Yeah, no, totally.
I don't expect her to win it, but if she wins,
she ought to get a little
cool.
something. No, because in terms of supporting actress, I can't see anybody else doing anything that big. Because probably this other girl in Carol.
Who was that again?
Noomi Rapace, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Right, but you could say she's main actor too. So whatever.
Yeah. Kurt Russell, just glad to see that that Tarantino got a great performance out of him with this one.
Yeah.
I mean, not like he wasn't great in Death Proof, but for me, he wasn't given that much to do. But in this one, he got a lot to do.
Yeah.
He stood out, like I say, as this sort of over macho version of John Wayne. Samuel Jackson kills it once again. I wouldn't say he is the stand-up performance, but just what he does with his performance, that grayness in him was excellent as well too.
Yeah.
But major props goes to Walter Goggins.
Yeah.
He is like the standout performance in this entire film. As soon as he steps in, he just, I don't know, it's just something about the way his character is, the way he plays the character as well too. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I do see him getting a Academy Award nomination. If he wins, wow, I would say is well deserved.
Yeah. No, he had to get a little something. Best supporting more than likely. He was excellent in this movie.
Yeah. Right. So overall, for me, just to round things up, I would say, just going back to the categories. So there's, like I said, there's the style and substance working hand to hand with Kill Bills and stuff.
Yeah.
Then there's substance over style, which I would say Jackie Brown, Inglourious Basterds, and now Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
And then we have Death Proof. That's just a category on its own, where it's just he lost focus, he didn't know what he was doing. Whatever. Yeah. So I agree with you. It's not I would say it's not my all-time favorite of Tarantino's work. I would say it's his most challenging work. I would say it's his darkest work to date. His most thought-provoking, I would say, is like just the allusions to just how America is in terms of a social perspective. That was very brave and very bold as well too. You could see it on screen. You could see that stinging sort of bitterness to how African Americans are being treated in the States right now.
Right.
But what was really interesting that he doesn't delve too much into it, but just the fact that things more or less haven't changed, even though we as black people are technically free. Things haven't really exactly changed so much for the better, and it's not going to get any better, I guess.
Yeah.
So I would say a lot of people are going to go into this. A lot of people, I would say, might not like it as much. People might go in expecting Django Unchained. I would say, do not go in expecting Django Unchained. This is not Django Unchained.
Right.
Just the same way Inglourious Basterds is not Kill Bill. This is something totally different.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Right?
So, rating.
So, what else I was going to say before I get to my rating? Watch this with an open mind. Go in, definitely see this on big screen.
Yeah.
have a big ass bag of popcorn because you'll need it.
Yeah.
And also have a sweater with you because this is going to be a very cool movie. Like I watched this yesterday. I had my sweater. I was like, God, this movie was real cool. Like it really felt cool.
They're replicating the snow, the blizzard.
Yeah. So rating wise, I would give this a strong 4 out of 5 stars.
Okay, wow.
See this in cinema. See this on big screen as soon as you can. I am definitely going to buy this on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
I hope it in the Blu-ray version, I hope it has that roadshow version. So I'm expecting.
Yeah, no, I totally want that. Yeah.
And by the way, the music from Ennio Morricone really sets that dark tone, especially the theme song.
Yeah.
That theme song is going to stick in your brain for weeks to come.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, not his greatest work. It's not as fun as Django.
Yeah.
It's not as stylish as Kill Bill, but definitely a bold and brave film. Can't wait to see what he brings out next.
Yeah, I give it a really, really good score. I give it a low IMAX.
All right.
It deserves go seeing it IMAX.
Right.
It's very good. It's not one of my favorites of his. Again, it's only because the payoff and the ending.
Yeah, the ending I would say is one you really have to think about because it hits you really hard in the end. It like first time I saw it, I was stunned. I was just like shocked. I was speechless. But then when I watched it over and I thought about it, I was like, oh, now I see what he's doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, you need to watch it. I would really strongly suggest watching more than once. But yeah, get back to you saying?
Yeah, low IMAX. I do recommend you should go see it. Is it showing in IMAX at all in Trinidad?
No.
Yeah, I don't mind actually going back and seeing it in IMAX just to get that full expanse of the screen and how the frame is.
But the argument that it wasn't released for IMAX.
So this movie is excellent. I totally recommend it. Just to try to start wrapping up the episode now.
Yeah,
it's a shame that the Revenant didn't come out in time because I didn't want to do the Revenant until it actually released. Even though we see it already.
Yeah, but the Revenant is coming out this week. This weekend with this recording.
I really wanted to do this and the Revenant at the same time.
Yeah, actually me too.
basically the two grimy, quote-unquote westerns.
Western settings.
Pilgrim times, horses,
and the funny thing is that both of those movies were scheduled to come out on Christmas Day.
Right.
I was telling myself, I was like, oh gosh, if only I was in the States, I could have seen both movies.
Yeah, one time.
And I actually watched both screeners. I was like, wow, that would have kind of messed up my Christmas, but I'd have loved it just seeing those really cold, bleak films.
Yeah.
From two great directors, of course.
Yeah. So we'll talk about
Revenant
next week.
With our next
ticketing
episode.
Yeah. And so...
Right, so in closing, where can we find you online?
Oh yes, you can find me at Rmeddy. That's at Ampersat. Remeddy.
You say Ampersat?
Yeah, that's what it means. That's what like ampersand. Yeah, that's Ampersat at Remeddy on Twitter. And then you could find my name on Facebook. I am the Hateful Eight.
Yes.
Ricardo Medina, you could find.
And if you have any hateful shit to wish on him or to wish ill of,
pure hate.
Yeah, just feel free to write on his wall, leave a message or two.
Pure hate. So Twitter is my main domain of contact. So anything you want to follow or just follow anything I'm talking about or doing, which basically, if you follow my Twitter account, it's just this ridiculous Jaden Smith style philosophy you're seeing, which is brilliant.
Jaden Smith in 2016.
Yeah, basically.
Not something I'm looking forward to.
I wouldn't be wearing Louis Vuitton dresses anytime soon. But,
nah.
But so you can find me on Twitter. I'll give you just my opinions on my ideas and just back and forth. You could just contact me there, and that's it. Matthew, where can we contact you, sir?
All right, on Twitter you can find me on Legally Black MJB are in capital letters. If you want to talk more or if you want to express your thoughts on the Hateful Eight, if you've seen it before, or on Tarantino in general, or if you think you are a bigger fan of Tarantino than me, you could also find me on Facebook. Just type in Matthew Bailey. Also, for the link to this podcast and previous podcasts that we did, and written podcast? Sorry. Oops, my bad. Written reviews that I've done before, you could look up Illegally Black official fan base, on Facebook. If you Google it or Yahoo or whatever your search engine is, you could find, just type in legallyblack.wordpress.com. You see a link to this podcast and all the other stuff that we've done before. And what are your thoughts on Hateful Eight if you've seen it? Or are you intending to see it? I strongly suggest you should. Did you like the film? Did you hate the film? Did you like the end? Did you agree with it? Did you understand it? Do you think that Tarantino bit of more than he could chew with this film? Do you think Django Unchained was a better film? And what do you think was the best Tarantino film ever? So leave a comment or two. I mean, this is up on YouTube as well too, so feel free to leave a comment on it. And yeah, that's pretty much about it.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it for this episode of Beers Beats Bailey with Matty Bailey
and Ricardo Medina.
Yes.
So until the Revenant, which we definitely we should be checking out this week.
Yeah, that's why this episode's so short. Because also do a Revenant review one time.
Yeah. I will try to check it out this week for sure. If not, then probably next week, and then we can do that review after that. So we'll look forward to that.
All right. Later, people.
Later. And like I said before, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whenever you listen to this. Oh, and please like and share and leave a comment or two.
Yeah.
So take care. Later.
All right.